What's going on, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to another Pokemon Challenge video. If you remembered from last time, I said that I was going to be doing the Professor Oak's Challenge in Pokemon Red and Blue, and here we are. I originally started this as a live stream series here on YouTube, but unfortunately my internet decided it didn't like existing, so I had to resort to the dreaded do the challenge while watching other YouTube videos method to getting through without wanting to rip my hair out in boredom. So, let's get right into it. How quickly can you complete Professor Oak's challenge in Pokemon Red and Blue? Well, let's find out. Before we get started, let me get into the rules real quick. The first and main rule is that you must complete the Pokédex as much as possible by capturing and evolving before collecting each gym badge. For areas that allow you to access multiple gym badges, the badge that gives us access to the most new Pokemon is going to be our first priority. The second rule is that only one game can be used, so since I'm using Red version, that already rules out Sandshrew, Sandslash, Vulpix, Ninetales, Meowth, Persian, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Victreebel, Magmar, and Pinsir. This also means no trading between games, which then prevents Gengar, Machamp, Alakazam, and Golem from being obtainable. This rule also causes a few small differences between the challenges for each game, such as how Porygon costs only 6,500 coins in Blue version rather than the maximum 9,999 coins from Red version. The last rule here is that no major glitches can be used, such as for getting normally unobtainable Pokemon and Trainer Fly. These glitches would make it quite a doozy to complete this challenge and probably way too easy. Actually, now that I think about it, comment down below if you want to see me attempt a glitched Professor Oak's challenge for Red and Blue down the road. The more comments, the better the chances I do it. So, as this is our fourth and final time going through Kanto officially, well, Johto games notwithstanding, I decided we needed a good send-off, so I named myself Chaotic, and seeing as Johnstone's original Professor Oak's challenge was the one to get me into this series, I named my rival after him, and set out to beat his time of 82 hours and 17 minutes. This should be doable since Fire Red only took me around 72 hours, but we'll see if the grinding is a bit more painful in this version. Funnily enough, the name John is a default name for the rival, so I guess it's meant to be. I grabbed Bulbasaur as my starter and beat John's new Charmander with it. I decided to take every time save I could, so I nicknamed the Bulbasaur the letter A. In Pokemon Red and Blue, one letter of text comes up for every frame, assuming you're using the fast text speed. Since Bulbasaur's name has 9 characters in it, every time the name comes up, that's 9 frames of time. Since the game runs at a 60 FPS, naming him A saves me 8 frames every time his name comes up, which is pretty damn often when it comes to grinding. Doing this with every Pokemon can add up to minutes, if not an hour or more of time save. So I also chose Bulbasaur since it evolves into the final form at level 32, whereas Charmander and Squirtle both evolve into their final forms at level 36, which can add hours to the grind. After all, we already have a level 36 we need to get, and it's already painful enough. Anyway, getting back into the game, I deliver the parcel and get the Pokédex so that I can grab some Pokeballs and truly begin the challenge. I headed on over to Route 23 and grabbed myself a Rattata, Spearow, Nidoran male, and Nidoran female within about 12 minutes before heading up to Route 2 to grab a Weedle and Pidgey in about 5 minutes, before entering the Viridian Forest. From here, I'm able to get the final captures of this section, those being Pikachu and Caterpie, and already it's time for a grinding session. Luckily, it's not too bad, and in fact it feels like it could take a shorter amount of time, probably because of the lesser amount of characters on the screen. That quickly got offset though, since the amount of encounters feels really low due to the degradingly slow walking speed, especially for someone that grew up in the running shoes era of Pokemon, and admittedly I've gotten used to using the bike in generations 1 and 2 because of this. Not to mention that the highest yield of EXP in this section is from a level 6 Kakuna, yielding 60 EXP for a KO. Fortunately, Kakuna has a 35% encounter chance, so it's relatively common, but this isn't taking into account the detailed encounter table, leaving level 6 Kakunas to appear 25 out of 256 times, or a 9.77% chance. This isn't good, meaning it takes quite a while, especially when some of the lower end Pokemon only yield about 25 EXP. However, after several hours of grinding, I evolved Bulbasaur into Ivysaur at level 16, Weedle into Kakuna at level 7, and into Beedrill at level 10, Nidoran male into Nidorino at level 16, Spearow into Fearow at level 20, Pidgey into Pidgeotto at level 18, Caterpie into Metapod at level 7, and into Butterfree at level 10, Nidoran female into Nidorina at level 16, and Rattata into Raticate at level 20. This is the point where I got a really stupid idea, but just stupid enough that it might work. I decided to leave the forest and went into the gym. You might be thinking, oh yeah, you can fight the gym trainer in there and get an easy couple hundred experience, then go back into the forest, right? Incorrect. Since Pidgeotto knows Whirlwind and nothing but normal and flying moves, Brock's Pokemon resists it. So, I save in front of him and I battled him, knocking out his Geodude for a whopping 220 experience. Luckily, Onix knows Bide, and I'm able to just waste time with Whirlwind until he uses a mix of Bide and Tackle until he KOs me. This sends me back in front of the Pewter Poke Center, allowing me to continue to fight him over and over and over and over again. This, while mind-numbing, allows me to get 220 EXP guaranteed, and after getting good at reading the battle, I'm able to get KO'd and come back within 2 or 3 minutes of in-game time, giving me an average of 73.3 to 110 XP per minute. Way more than what I could get in the forest. Since encounters could be sparse and sometimes be 15 to 20 seconds apart of just time wasted walking. Honestly, I wish I had thought of this from the start with numerous Pokemon. I would have probably been able to do this section with a much lower time, especially with Pokemon like Rattata and Spearow. I do this for several hours, finally getting enough EXP to go back to Route 2 and evolve Pidgeotto into Pidgeot at level 36. I had to evolve it in the forest since I couldn't evolve it if I reached level 36 and then white it out on the Onix. It just wouldn't count. This leaves Ivysaur, which evolved into Venusaur at level 32, and with a time of 19 hours and 43 minutes, I took out Brock and moved into round 3. Quick little comment game. Comment below on what you think is going to be my next Professor Oak's challenge. If you're correct, and you're the first person to be correct in the comment section, you will get a challenge request from me personally. And no, you're not allowed to ask me to just drop everything and do the Heart Gold Soul Silver Professor Oak's challenge. I'm gonna make you guys wait for that, and it's gonna be, oh, so painful. Not for you, but for me. There's nothing here of note other than some trainers that I skipped for use of grinding, and being able to capture Jigglypuff. I got to the base of Mount Moon and grabbed the Magikarp for 500 Pokédollars. While we can technically fish for one after getting the Old Rod in Vermilion City, it's best to just grab it now since we can switch train it on the remainder of the trainers on Route 3 and in Mount Moon. Speaking of Mount Moon, I'm able to capture Zubat, Clefairy, Paris, and Geodude before taking out the remainder of the trainers, grabbing the 2 Moonstones, and evolving Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff, and Clefairy into Clefable with them. Also, I made sure to grab the Helix Fossil. I knew that if I didn't say what I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone asks. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I exited the cave onto Route 4 where I grabbed Ekans. Sandshrew is the version exclusive in blue here, so we won't be getting Sandslash either. I moved on to Cerulean City and immediately activated the instant text glitch through the bike shop so that I'd be able to make my way through the trainers on routes 24 and 25 faster than usual. While I was there, I made sure to capture an Oddish and 2 Abra before I grabbed the SS ticket and made my way south of Cerulean to Route 5, housing Mankey and Red Virgin. Meowth is normally here in blue, and we would definitely take advantage of it because of Payday, but alas, we can't get it, along with Persian. Before I left, I grabbed an extra Spearow for a trade in Vermilion City, and opted to take out the Sazan before doing so. There's tons of trainers on this ship, so I was able to evolve Magikarp into Gyarados at level 20, get Zubat up to level 19, and fight my rival before getting the HM for Cut. Fortunately, we can't use this yet, or else we'd be in a world of pain and more catching. Also, is it just me, or is it weird seeing the water tiles move along with the Sazan as it departs? I've never noticed this until this very playthrough, and now I can't unsee it. I performed the trade with this girl to get Farfetch'd for my Spearow, as it's the only way to get it in red and blue. Heading east to Route 11 led me to grabbing a Drowsy and the last few trainers of the section, where I managed to evolve Zubat into Golbat at level 22. The last area that I need to capture anything left is in Diglett's Cave, so I made sure to grab a Diglett, and before I found a Dugtrio, I evolved my Abra into Kadabra at level 16. I found the Dugtrio, caught it, and I passed to the other side, trading my other Abra for a Mr. Mime. This is again the only way to get a Pokemon in red and blue. I really don't understand that. Where are they getting these? Anyway, it's time for grinding. The best place for grinding in this section is Diglett's Cave, since the Diglets are frail and toss out a lot of EXP for being so. The Dugtrios can also be fought easily due to having a very overleveled Pidgeot for switching in, though they come up fairly rarely. Everything was relatively easy to level up, the only one being a decent pain in the rear being Paris and Geodude. The first for not really having that many useful moves, though I was able to give it Cut so that it would have an additional one, and the latter because it was weak to Dig, so I'd have to switch into Pidgeot most of the time. Overall, not that big of a grind, but my Diglett to Dugtrio ratio could have been better. Either way, I evolved Mankey into Primeape at level 28, Paris into Parasect at level 24, Ekans into Arbok at level 22, Oddish into Gloom at level 21, Geodude into Graveler at level 25, and Drowsy into Hypno at level 26. And with that, that's a total of 47 Pokemon, and a time of 28 hours and 5 minutes, we're able to take on Misty. After taking her down, we've got the ability to use Cut outside of battle, so Route 9 is our next priority. But, before we go, I decided to go back through Diglett's Cave and grab both the HM for Flash, a Moonstone, the Old Amber, and evolving Nidorino into Nidoking with it. So, I guess that's not both, that's 4 things, but moving on! Route 9 doesn't have anything important to us, so I skip on over to Route 10 to capture a Voltorb, which I then use to switch train on the remaining trainers before Rock Tunnel. Unfortunately, Voltorb doesn't learn any electric moves before evolving, so switch training is much easier to do for this. But as a positive, Voltorb can learn Flash, so that'll make getting through Rock Tunnel a little bit more of a breeze, since I have still yet to memorize that entire dungeon despite the fact that I've played through Kanto at least 20 times in my life. I entered Rock Tunnel, capturing a Machop and Onix before exiting out into the last stretch of Route 10 and Lavender Town. I made sure to heal up and... That's the kind of crap I expect to see in a creepypasta, not actual Lavender Town. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I headed over to Celadon City, where most of our fun will be had. First of all, I grabbed every single evolutionary stone that I need for the run. This will make it so that I don't have to backtrack as much. I went back to the Poke Center to evolve Pikachu into Raichu, depositing it back into the PC, and grabbing the coin case. Oh boy, it's time for the dumbest grind in the game. I have to either gamble my life away or spend 200,000 Pokedollars in order to get a Porygon. So I grabbed the coins on the floor, and from the people, bought some coins, and we had some fun with some gambling. On the lower right machine of the game corner you see, this machine actually has the best statistical odds of giving you coins back, because apparently Game Freak really took their time with this, and it's one of the most intricately programmed functions that Pokemon Red and Blue have to offer. Odd. I grabbed the free Eevee, evolving it into Jolteon with my other Thunderstone, and with all that nonsense out of the way, I opened up the Rocket Hideout and evolved my Voltorb into Electrode at level 30 before facing off against Giovanni for the Silph Scope. I really don't want to have to go back into Lavender Town after that weird glitch. It really seems all too convenient that something crazy would happen only there. I used the Moonstone that I found in the hideout to evolve Nidorina into Nidoqueen, before grabbing some more coins and making my way into the Fighting Dojo in Saffron City. I figured that I can go ahead and finish off the training for Machop, and I evolved it into Machoke at level 28, just shy of the last trainer. So I stopped back into the Poke Center and evolved Gloom into Vileplume with a Leaf Stone, relenting and grabbing a Dratini from the game corner before going back. I figured that I'm gonna need to get one of these things to level 55 eventually, so I'd rather drag one along through the rest of the hordes of trainer battles in the rest of the section, since I'll be maining it for the rest of the game after this. I finished the dojo off and grabbed Hitmonlee before returning to Route 8 to capture a Growlithe, immediately evolving into Arcanine after a Firestone. You'd get Vulpix in blue version, which evolves the same way. Finally, it's time to go back to the dreaded Lavender Town. I pretty much rushed through here, getting myself a Ghastly, Cubone, and Haunter in the Pokemon Tower, before getting the Pokeflute from Mr. Fuji, allowing me to go on my way. Traveling west of Celadon City allowed me to get a Doduo as well as the HM for Fly, though we won't be able to use it for a while, before waking up and capturing the Snorlax. Cycling Road has a plentiful amount of trainers on it as well, so it was a good place for me to level up, and fortunately had no new Pokemon like it did in Pokemon Yellow before arriving in Fuchsia City. I figured I'd run through the Safari Zone for a first sweep of the place before grabbing the last 2 fishing rods, capturing Venonat, Chansey, Rhyhorn, Execute, Scyther, and Kangaskhan, before being sent out for taking too many steps on their extremely large lawn. I evolved my Execute and Executor with a Leaf Stone before fighting off the trainers on routes 15, 14, 13, and 12, grabbing Ditto on the way, and nope, I'm gone again, not happening. During that trek, Dratini evolved into Dragonair at level 30, and since I get a good few levels on Dragonair as well, I decided to go ahead and take out the entirety of the Sylph Company, which has over 25 trainers for me to fight. So Dragonair got up to level 50, and at that point I figured I'd just use 5 of my rare candies to get it to level 55, evolving into Dragonite. That really wasn't too bad, despite the fact that the highest level evolution in the entire game just kind of went by like a breeze. I defeated my rival, grabbed the Lapras from this kind man over here, and defeated Giovanni to evolve Cubone into Marowak at level 28, and to, get the Master Ball before escape roping myself out. There's not too much else to do here, so I went back to Celadon City to spend a crap ton of money, finally getting myself a Porygon before the final stretch of the section. There's several remaining Safari Zone captures, as well as the fishing encounters I have to do, so I decided to go for the remainder of the Safari Mons, fishing up Poliwag and Goldeen with the Good Rod, Psyduck, Slowpoke, and Krabby with the Super Rod, and Tauros as the last remaining grass encounter. I exited with all necessary items in tow, meaning it's time for the remaining fishing encounters. Luckily, most of them are either in Fuchsia or south of Fuchsia, so I grabbed Seaking with the Super Rod in Fuchsia, going down to Route 19 and grabbing Horsea, Staryu, and Shelder, evolving Staryu into Starmie, and Shelder into Cloyster with Water Stones. Tentacle can be found on Route 17 to the west of Fuchsia, 2 Poliwhirls on Route 10, one of which taking our last Water Stone and evolving into Poliwrath. The other will be used for a trade with a Jinx. As with that, that's all that's left other than the grinding, so I'll save you the details and just tell you that the best place still for grinding is Diglett's Cave, leading us with evolutions, those being Doduo into Dodrio at level 31, Venonat into Venomoth at level 31, Tentacool into Tentacruel at level 30, Psyduck into Golduck at level 33, Krabby into Kingler at level 28, Horsea into Seadra at level 32, Slowpoke into Slowbro at level 37, and Rhyhorn into Rhydon at level 42. The last thing to do now is trade off Slowbro for a Lickitung, which is right outside of Fuchsia City, giving me a total of 105 Pokemon, and the most that you can have with only 2 badges. We now have the option to fight either Lieutenant Surge, Erica, Sabrina, or Koga, and since Koga gives me access to Surf, I took him out with a time of 56 hours and 4 minutes, and go on to the last somewhat lengthy section, though it's definitely the shortest one so far of this challenge. But before we go on to the next section, it's time for an in-between Twitter plug where I tell you about how much is wrong with professional wrestling, despite the fact that I legitimately enjoy the sports entertainment hybrid. Except WWE. Vince doesn't have any idea what he's doing anymore. Anyway, the first area that I can take out with Surf is the power plant right off of Route 10, which had Electabuzz, Magneton, and Magnemite, as well as the first of our amazing fried chickens, Zapdos, which I somehow got on the first Great Ball. Great Balls are actually better than Ultra Balls for some reason, probably because Generation 1 is held up with Spit and Wish, along with a side of gambling programming that's somehow more complicated than the damn battle system. Anyway, back to the game. I traveled back all the way to Pallet Town so that I could go south to grab Tangela, and into Cinnabar Island in order to revive Ammonite and Aerodactyl. The last important area on Cinnabar is the Pokemon Mansion, where I'm able to capture Coughing, Ponyta, Weezing, Grimer, and Muck before grabbing the secret key and clearing out the trainers in the gym. I used my last 2 rare candies to evolve Ponyta into Rapidash at level 40, leaving me to clear out the remainder of the trainers around the island, and grab Seal and Dugong from the Seafoam Islands just east of Cinnabar. I finished off grinding Ammonite since it only needed a few more battles, evolving into Amistar at level 40, and giving me a total of 121 Pokemon, and the most that I can have with only 3 badges. From here, I'm able to fight Erica with a time of 59 hours and 38 minutes, to gain access to Strength, which gives me access to the second of the fried chickens, the frozen one himself, Articuno. He didn't really give me that much trouble, so I grabbed it after about 8 Great Balls, leaving me to fight the last few gym leaders. I was smart to have healed in Saffron City on my way to Articuno after Erica, since this allowed me to escape rope out of the Seafoam Islands and go straight there. I took out Sabrina, Lieutenant Surge, Blaine, Giovanni, and my rival before entering the Victory Road, which is home to the final fried chicken of the game, Ultras. Luckily, I managed to get it after about a half dozen Great Balls, giving me the second to last Pokemon in the game. I used all 3 of the chickens and Dragonite to tear through the Elite Four, defeating Lorelei, Bruno, Agatha, Lance, and my rival before getting into the Hall of Fame. Since I can use Fly now, I was easily able to go back to Cerulean City, getting through the Cerulean Cave in less than 5 minutes to face off against Mewtwo. And look, I'm not going to waste your time, I just used the Master Ball and saved, giving me a finish challenge with a time of 60 hours and 41 minutes. But was this truly the fastest I could go? Well, the truth is, no. I can't do the fastest run unless I legitimately sit down and map out several dozen hours worth of task inputs on the Gambat emulator so that I can accurately predict the RNG, but that's besides the point. If I'm talking played by a human, actually my time is the lowest in comparison to those on the red and blue leaderboards, so I must have done something right. I think that the biggest time saves I could have done on top of this run were to repeatedly fight Brock with Pidgeotto at a lower level, as well as with other Pokemon like Spearow and Rattata, as I stated earlier. Honestly, I could have probably pulled it off with the Nidorans and Bulbasaur as well, since they have enough stat moves and normal type attacks that would allow for the Bide Whiteout strategy to continue working. I'd also have to write out a detailed list of how to go through everything with the least amount of movement required, not to mention safe scumming to get the perfect encounters, but I'm perfectly fine with this time as it is. I would have liked sub 60, but I smashed John's record, and I'm pretty much set for the leaderboard for now. However, if you do end up beating my time, let me know on Twitter, link is in the description. Next week's challenge will be of Pokemon Black and White, but I won't necessarily say which one. I'll leave it up in the air for you guys to guess in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, subscribe, ring the bell for alerts to when my new challenges go up, and I'll see you guys next week.